Morning, everybody. We will call the Wright County Board of Commissioners meeting for September 7th to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, everybody.
Morning.
All righty. First order of business, dispense with the reading, approve minutes from August 31st. Does anybody have anything to change, amend?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from August 31st.
I'll second that.
Trying to push our year a little bit fast?
Yes,
or
I
what?
wanted it to be Halloween already.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Review and approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add?
Maybe Administrator Kelly wants to add
Yep.
the same thing I do.
Okay, I will start with a couple items. Had some discussion regarding A1. The Highway Department would like to pull that for a future agenda so they can be in attendance. Additionally, I would like to add the emergency paid sick leave policy, as was discussed at the Committee of the Whole on Friday. I did place copies in front of you there and have a few extras if people would like to review. So.
Put that under items for consideration B. Is that what you had too, or you had something else?
Then were
I-
you?
I'm sorry, I was busy writing, so I missed what Administrator Kelly said.
The items removing A1
Yep.
was my first request.
Yep.
Second was to add the emergency sick leave policy as discussed at the Committee of the Whole. I don't know if you want to speak about it now or later, but I was also planning to add at least one other item to the workshop discussion regarding the monument for the Alina Clinic.
Yep, thank you.
I'm assuming that was your item.
So we're adding,
Yeah, we can talk about that later, when we get to that item. All right, so we're removing item A under timed agenda and adding under items for consideration B. Any other changes? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion with those changes, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Vetch. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like to remove for further discussion? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Wetter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Mr. Bryan, since you, are number, or item B, and item A is gone, you get to be first up this morning.
All right. Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This item, as indicated, is simply adopting a resolution that would modify property tax abatements that you originally approved back in 2019 by Resolution 19-114. This started a little over a month ago, I think. I got contacted by Tammy Wright in finance. There was some, maybe confusion's the wrong word, but it was not clear what parcels the finance department would abate for taxes starting in 2022, which is when this abatement will start. as per the original resolution. And in doing kind of the background checking on it and talking with Adam Flaherty from the city of Otsego, the plat that was before you in November of 2019 was revised after the county adopted its property tax abatement resolution. And the outlot that contains the apartment building, the multifamily housing, was relabeled. I think it changed from Outlot A to Outlot D or something like that. It's since been replatted as a separate plat. All of these parcels now have different parcel numbers as well, parcel ID numbers. So it was thought that the best thing that could be done going forward, since the abatement starts next year, is to clarify the parcels that would be abated. And the two parcel numbers I have would be 118-341-001-001010. That would be the Coburn's grocery store. The other parcel is 118-344-001-010, and that would be the multifamily housing. The rest of the resolution that was adopted in 2019 would remain in force. We're just, under the statute, modifying the abatement and clarifying what was done 2 years ago.
Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution modifying the property tax abatement in terms of resolution 19-114.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Batch, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Ketchmark votes aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you, Brian. Mr. Detchen.
Don't sound too excited. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Under the consent item that Ryan put on, we moved the buffer and riparian aid to Fund 02527. Just a little bit of background of the buffer riparian aid. It's aid that we get from the state to enforce the buffer law. We did not elect to do that in 2017, but we have since 2018. We originally were getting about $98,000 a year. That has since went down to about $75,000 over the last couple of years. So essentially we have these funds, and the item that I'm bringing forth to you is to start utilizing some of these funds. Two pieces of equipment, one of them which was discussed at length during our budget hearing was the T770 Bobcat skid steer with the diamond mower on the front to do buffer mowing and maintenance. The big ticket item is the mini excavator, looking to utilize that to purchase. It would be a joint purchase that could be used between parks, highway, and ag and drainage with some limited use to help out the local soil and water on projects as well. They're not able to operate it though, so we would need one of our people to do that in certain cases. But yeah, looking to utilize those funds. As you can see, the mini excavator, we're looking to use about $89,200 out of that aid. Really more of a grant. There is grant tracking requirements, but utilize some of those funds, and we would still have a significant amount left over at the end of 2020.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Batch.
Because I know the original discussion, we were considering getting a drone, but we've decided not to do that, or did we do that? You got that?
With that, these
Okay.
funds, yep. Mhm.
All right.
And you have your license for that now?
I do, yep.
Oh, so we're gonna get some aerials here pretty
Yeah.
soon.
Matt, at one time we also talked about, what's it called, a Moby track or?
The Moby track. Yeah, we, with how much we'd have, so the balance we would have after these purchases would be $49,000. At the end of 2022, we would have an additional $75,200. We're looking to purchase that Moby track at the end of 2022. We felt that between all three departments, getting a mini excavator would be more useful for next year. I know we have a significant amount of money in our budget to rent a mini excavator, so does Parks, and then I know Highway does rent an excavator as well, so that could, also kind of reduce that in the future, the rental costs.
Are you going to get a mower for that mini excavator too?
I would like to, yeah, and that was one we had the discussions on in the budget hearing. If I could share my screen real quick.
Because I can understand that would work really good for mowing the sides of the ditches.
Yep, yeah, so the problem, and you can see it a little bit here, is, we're going through and doing a significant amount of tree removal. So we do have stumps.
Right.
In the bid, we say they have to be cut at least to 6 inches, or else you would actually have to get something and grind down the stumps, which costs a lot more. So with a mini excavator and a flail mower, that type of attachment, you're coming down on the banks more instead of, running the mower down the side, which you can still lift the standard tractor mower up and down, but you not only get that, which will help reduce the wear and tear on that when you have a mower with a blade like that, but it can also function as a mini excavator, to pull out dams and stuff like this. In the pictures, there's smaller dams and stuff that you could, reach with less of a footprint on a smaller type of excavator. You probably wouldn't even really need to pull out a tree removal or anything to get to some of these sites to pull out these obstructions, and then you're saving the tree removal costs as well.
Mr. Chair, one more other question. Did we buy the seating equipment with the buffer, or did we buy that, I can't remember, or did we buy that one with general funds and charge it back against the benefit? I can't remember how we went about it.
Yeah, I haven't bought any equipment, or the equipment that I bought has all been out of the repairing aid, so a Ranger with a sprayer that we use for invasives and ditch spraying. We haven't bought a mower, that was one, or a seeder, that was one that we were gonna have future discussions on. It's, just really what size.
So we haven't bought the seating yet, okay. I just didn't know, because we talked about in ditch 10, utilizing it to do some of it ourselves just to get the cost down. I didn't know if we ended up pulling the trigger on that effort.
We did not. That one we did seed with. It was $16,000 to seed that ditch. So the seed was probably about half of that cost, and then just the labor to do the seeding. The County Ditch 10 pond was one that we actually pulled seeding out of the bid because it was so high. It was $60,000 or something crazy. So we pulled that and then hired a local company and got that price down significantly. But that'd be good, great other option for something to purchase. I'd want to work out what size, what type of seeder we would get, and something again that can be used between all departments. Because right now a mini excavator, again, all 3 departments are renting one. We do have tractors. We do have backhoes and stuff like that, but we don't have a mini excavator that can be used between all departments.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Ketchmark.
and I pointed this out since I came in here, that the county this size doesn't own an excavator, and I think a couple of parts of this that are important is the way we can apply it to benefiters when it's allowed for the projects, and also a good administrative agreement between the departments, for the usage and maintenance and fuel and whatever's involved. But I read the claims that talk about the rental of equipment by the different departments throughout the year. And with this, you have the flexible scheduling and weather that you got it available when you have the need and personnel to use it. So it seems like a good use of the money to have that equipment. And we got a lot of ditches, we got a lot of road right of way. There's the weeds, there's the water, the whole thing. So
Yeah, I mean, it definitely isn't the silver bullet. It's not a large excavator, as you can see in this photo, but, highway clearing culverts, doing some of that smaller maintenance, putting in some smaller culverts. Again, there's gonna be stuff that's just way too big, ditches, parks, highway that we can't use, but just a general, what we do on a daily basis and general maintenance and stuff, we could probably use it quite a bit. So.
Yeah, it's nice you can get into tight spaces with it too.
Rubber tracks, so less of a footprint when you're going in, that's another big one.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Wetter.
and do you have room to store this equipment?
Yeah, so
a trailer and a truck that would be able to haul it?
yeah, and that's why we've been, focusing on this size unit. We have a gooseneck and a 1-ton trailer, which can haul something this size. Highway and Parks would have some, the stuff to haul something bigger. But this, would work for, with what we're able to haul. We do have enough room, we figured out, for the mini excavator and the skid. We're just kind of working out, with the potential future MOBA track, if that would fit in with the storage area we have right now.
All right. Any more questions? If not, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to allow the purchase by the Ag and Drainage Supervisor to obtain the equipment shown today.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Ketchmark, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thanks,
Thank
Matt.
you, Matthew.
Good to get this equipment. Thanks.
No joyriding with it either.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be operating.
Oh, now I feel a lot better. All righty, items for consideration. Item A. Mr. Kelly.
Yes, thank you, sir. Tried to make a list of items that we had planned for the workshop. GRL, the library system, had been approaching us for doing kind of their annual overview. We thought this would be a good forum for that. Also, as we've gotten quite a bit of work done on the work plan for CMRP, I think it would be good to circle around and revise, get the board up to speed of where that's at. A while back, you'd asked for a structural assessment out at the compost facility, so that's been completed. I know it's been sent to you for review. Would like to circle back on direction on that for staff, and then as we mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, would like to discuss about the monument regarding the Buffalo Alina Clinic shooting. So other items you'd like to add?
Anybody?
It should give us a healthy workshop.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Wetter.
got a question for admin. Probably could have somewhere else, but if there's a request by a group that wants somebody to stand in if you can't make it, where do you apply that, or where do you ask for that?
For a committee?
An alternate, yes.
Alternate. Traditionally, we've allowed the board to kind of work it amongst themselves. We do have alternates assigned. It's just been a notification. Make sure that it occurs. Either you can do that, or I can have myself or staff do it.
Well, I guess they wanted actually somebody written down, not just if I were to ask Derek or something to stand in for me.
Okay.
So they want an alternate listed then?
Yes.
One added
That's
this
no
year.
problem. We have
Okay.
Yeah.
some of the committees that actually have an alternate listed, so
Okay.
we can do that.
Yeah.
Or which,
North Crow River,
The Crow?
yeah,
Not the Crow,
What?
but
North Crow River, what the heck, my mind just went blank.
I thought
The
North
policy committee for the North Fork, Crow River, one watershed, one place.
oh, okay. All right.
They wanted actually somebody to list, the engineer wanted that, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I
So they
think
could-
most of our committees do have an alternate listed, but some,
Not-
for some reason.
Some don't,
For some
though.
reason, we don't, they're not on all of them. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
that's why, I was just curious, you know.
Anybody want to volunteer? Come on,
It
don't all jump up and,
It needs a trip to Litchfield, if that makes a difference.
I mean, that's not.
what day is the meeting?
It's a let's see, this was a Wednesday. It would be December.
So it just meets every once in a
Yeah,
while? And it's only
it's like
for,
4 times a
and
year.
it's only for when you're unable to make it?
Yeah,
So pretty minimal. Anybody?
Mike, how's your schedule?
None of my districts hardly in that,
Yeah.
that watershed,
Same.
most of mine's in Clearwater River Watershed District, so, I mean, I can sit on it, but I mean,
Hey, Mike, a lot of your district is in that area, isn't it?
I don't know, what area, what's the cutoff for North Fork?
it's basically, you kind of go through Pelican Lake, or, well, Maple Lake West, northwest quarter is all Clearwater River Watershed. Everything else in the southern part of the county is all in this watershed district. So basically everybody else's other than mine's about 60% Clearwater River Watershed District in 40 North Fork. Christine is a little bit, but
I'm probably more Clearwater, but yeah, I'm North Fork.
yours, Mike, is entirely, almost entirely.
Because I hear her talk about South Fork. Is there a
There's a
boundary
sou-
where?
There's a South Fork one too, but they haven't even met, a policy committee because they're waiting for money. That's a possibility, but
So this would only be needed if Commissioner
could-
Wetter can't make it.
Yeah, I can be that. I mean, these are all going to turn over potentially or get reconfirmed in January.
And you might only go to one meeting.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering. We're only
Yeah.
just taking care of it for
And-
December or whatever.
Well, it's just that the engineer wanted,
Yeah.
wanted someone
Something in writing.
specifically
Yeah, you can
written
note.
I
down.
mean, and that's fair. And the thing is that you're named as the alternate, but if you can't make it, then maybe one of us can, but,
Yeah.
so,
That's fine, Mr. Chair. You can note me, whoever's
Thank you, Mike.
taking notes on that.
Thanks.
did you get that taken care of, Mr. Kelly?
Yeah,
Make
we'll
a
straighten
motion.
that out. We'll add Mike as the alternate to that group and get that in the document we keep for it. And
Okay.
I don't know that that needs to be a workshop topic per se. I think we've resolved it here, so.
All right.
I didn't, I'm
enough.
sorry.
So back to the workshop. Does anybody else have anything they want added to that workshop?
Mr.
Not-
Chair,
Yep.
just wondering how deep we're going to get in with this monument as far as other people at the table. Is there going to be
we've got four other entities, or three other entities. with
they're going
us.
to be there? They're going to be at the meeting?
No, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think an invitation should go out so that we're not just trying to voice, I mean, we had one guy come from Alina, we know where they stood, but we haven't heard from anybody else.
Yeah, I've got financial commitments from three other entities.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so just those four items for the workshop next Tuesday. And regarding the rest of the board meetings for September, suit coats are optional, just tie and shirt for sure, except for the ladies, they have to provide a suit coat yet,
Okay,
until the end of September, and then
We're gonna go,
suit
Suit coats?
coats and ties will be required.
okay.
Alrighty,
I didn't even think of that.
item B,
Oh, man.
emergency sick leave. Administrator Kelly.
Thank you, sir. As you know, we did have a committee of the whole on Friday and had some discussion about the path forward we wanted to take. Staff had prepared this emergency sick leave policy for the meeting on Friday, and I think this is where we arrived. Given the turnaround of the agenda having to go out for this meeting a little bit early due to the holiday, we were not able to get the minutes, but wanted to get this into effect as soon as we were able. Currently, we have it slated as it would be September 5th, which would be the start of the current pay period. So I believe we've tried to reflect the discussion as of Friday. The minutes for that meeting will be coming forward at a future board meeting. So any questions regarding where we're at? I can certainly speak to that. And I believe Sean Johnson, our HR director, is also on via Teams. So
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Ketchmark.
I would just like to recognize and thank the staff for getting the meeting agenda out a little earlier, considering the Monday holiday. I understand that we maybe, because of that, we missed out on some minutes that could have been in there, but it was good to have that extra day. Thank you.
The one thing that this will relate back to is our normal county policy regarding FMLA requirements and that sort of stuff. so that if, after 3 days, proof is required. So if, for example, a school had an exposure or a classroom and sent everybody home from that classroom, I'm assuming that a letter would come from the school letting them know. Something like that would be required for the employee to be able to receive these emergencies. So, and that goes back to our normal policy. So just so you're aware of it, that it's not, just tell me that I'm sick and, you know, I get it. It's not. There are requirements that go back to our normal policy. So, any questions on that? If not, I'll look for motion.
Mr. Chair, I just also want to note that this is only a very finite period of time. I mean, we have just shy of 5 months on this window of time for this. So I don't want people to read into it that this is some permanent policy change.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Ketchmark.
Thank you. And you mentioned the FLMA, and as long as I've been here, I'm not real clear, but and I've had inquiries from employees about it. How does that relate to this as far as a time frame? I don't understand the time frame that's involved and when it comes into play as it would relate to this, if it would apply. Can someone explain that?
Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, you might be the best one.
Commissioners, we use the standard that if an employee is out for 3 days or more for illness or injury, we would provide that employee with FMLA paperwork. Now, the employee has to be with the county for more than 1 year to be eligible for that. So if an employee just started, they wouldn't be eligible for FMLA. But also, two, we would be following up with that employee if they, like you said, Commissioner Delight, if they had documentation from the school, something to substantiate why they need the emergency paid sick leave. And also, two, they have to exhaust all of their available accrued leaves. And that would be your vacation, PTO, sick leave, emergency sick leave, comp time, you know, if they had a floating holiday, that type of thing. All of that would have to be exhausted before they can even go into this bucket of time available to them.
Sean, the FMLA, that's a federal mandate, isn't it?
That is a federal mandate, yes.
And what is that length of time, and when does that kick in for an employee to use?
FMLA would kick in after somebody's been, if they're going to be out for a substantial period of time due to illness or injury. Typically what we do is once somebody's out for 3 days or more, 3 days kind of if somebody's out for 3 days or more, we ask the supervisor to contact us, and then we reach out to the employee. I mean, if somebody's got the flu and they're going to be out for 4 days and coming back, we wouldn't submit them the FMLA paperwork. But if we know they're going to be out for an extended period of time due to a broken leg or a broken arm or serious illness, then we send out the FMLA paperwork and ask that they provide that information to their doctor. The doctor would fill out the information and send it back to us. Basically, it's 12 weeks of protected leave through the federal government.
Okay, thank you. I'll look you up if I got more inquiries after going over this, but thank you.
Yeah, and it's just to protect the employee from being discharged.
Yeah, I just wasn't clear when it came into play and how long it was. I never, fortunately, had to use it, but, okay.
And hopefully, a lot of our employees don't ever
Right.
have to use it either. It's there for protection, but hopefully people don't have to ever need it. Anybody else have any questions on it? All right. We got a motion and a second on this?
I don't think we have a
I
motion.
don't believe we do.
No, okay. So can I have a motion to?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Wetter. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
And thank you for putting this together, Mr. Johnson, and working with Tim Dahl.
All righty. Administrator Kelly.
Yes, sir.
Advisory committees, advisory board updates. What do you got?
Just a few things kind of from last week. Given the holiday, of course, we mentioned we had the Friday committee of the whole regarding our leave policy here, but also was able to attend both the admin technology meeting where we talked about our projects that are currently in the hopper, as well as in the afternoon on Wednesday, the solar advisory committee met, which I'll maybe defer to Commissioner Vetch, but I think we got to a good point regarding that. Did have a leadership team meeting with the department heads on Thursday to talk through issues with the county. Again, a lot of discussion took place there about COVID. Additionally, about how the growth of the county, given the new census numbers, continues to impact our individual departments. So, good discussion there, and hope everybody had a good holiday and had a good weekend. So,
Regarding those census numbers, they haven't been really released yet to the public, have they?
they've put out through the demographer site. It's kind of interpreting the information that's been the challenge, but you've been able to get the high level for the counties at this point. It's mostly what I've been focused on.
Yeah, okay, the high level. But once we get that information, we'll get that published on our website, won't we?
Sure.
On
Yeah.
breakdown of all the townships and the cities and everything. I just think for people's interest, just to see what the areas are growing. Because from my preliminary data, Otsego is now the largest city in Wright County. So, just
Correct.
for the future of the public. Alrighty. Nothing else? Commissioner Wetter.
Okay, September 1st was the policy committee meeting for the North Fork Crow River One Watershed One plan. That was in Litchfield. And the results of running the new app that I talked about before, it's a tool and it points out the top 250 projects that should be done.
250.
And it identifies the types of practices and prioritizes them. This goes to the technical advisory committee, and they further prioritize them. And then as of August, we're looking at ag structural practices, non-structural management practices like cover crops, water quality practices by County Ditch 10, and gully erosion sites were addressed. So that's what they're looking at right now, and more to come as time goes on. September 2nd, I attended, Zoom, Central Minnesota Council on Aging. They also received ARP funds, but they only got a third of their allocation because the Minnesota Board on Aging is reviewing the intrastate funding formula that will happen, hopefully, in January 2023. So they're waiting for the rest of their money. So they
2023?
Yep. Well, it's the state, remember? So this is actually money they're receiving from now into 2022. Okay. So they received $945,401. I don't know where the one came in there, but it's what they said. Is a one-year award for 2022, and then hope to be able to provide input on any changes that the state would do. The administration for community living awarded the council $107,512 for vaccine outreach and hope to award mini grants of like $5,000 locally. And a subcommittee was appointed to review these apps so they don't have to do it. It's some of the board members that will be doing those, reviewing those applications, and that's all I have.
That 900,000, that's in addition to their normal funding that they receive?
That would be that ARP money.
So it's additional funding they receive then?
Yes.
Good.
for 2022 at this point.
Yeah.
Unless the state gets off their hands and gets that new formula together sooner, they're stuck with what they got.
They're probably waiting for the census figures
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, probably.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Vetch.
So as Mr. Kelly stated last week on Wednesday, we had our last solar work group meeting of numerous ones. Sometimes they were contentious, other times they were very fruitful in terms of the conversation. I think we ended it on a good note. I think both sides feel confident that we'll come out with some good language going forward. So at this point, we're going to kind of work with Steph, myself, and Commissioner Ketchmark to put together some possible language to send out to the townships for comments, then to have that public hearing at the Planning Commission. So to hopefully later part of October, and then maybe see something back here at the county board late November, December for a new ordinance change on that. So kind of gives you the timeline on that. This morning I was in on a virtual meeting with the state demographer's office. They were kind of dissecting some of the census information. Wright County, third fastest growing county in the state.
So it is the third.
Third, yep. Scott County was number 1, Carver number 2, and Wright County was number 3. Roughly-ish about 16% growth for Scott, 15% for Carver, and 13.3 for Wright County. Otsego, for the first time, Wright County has a city on the fastest growing cities list of the top 15, and Otsego made number 14 with a population growth of over 6,000 people in the last decade. So interesting information there. A lot of the information was slated around the workforce growth and how we are actually hitting for the first time here in the next year or two where there is more people 65 plus than there is under the age of 18.
In Wright County?
Just in general,
in general,
statewide.
okay.
Statewide, we're hitting that pivot point where there is now more people over the age of 65 than there is under the age of 18. So definitely kind of places the tune where the difficulties in the workforce is going to be, and this is going to be an ongoing issue for about the next 20 to 30 years as the baby boomers age out until it kind of gets back into a more normal population. Because they're kind of looking at the population numbers for like the Gen Zs and the millennials, and it's much more linear. So we shouldn't see this big, I guess, spike in terms of demographer census numbers.
Wright County, I mean, has a younger population than a lot of the counties, but
They haven't
perhaps that's
dissected it
leveling
out that far yet, so they're doing, all the information that we had at this point was just at the state level. We'll have some more information hopefully in the months ahead that'll break that down on the Wright County level. So that's all I have.
As you all know, last week we kind of finished up our budget. We have one more budget meeting, and looking forward to that and coming up with something that will the residents will be happy with, well, be content with. I'm not sure anybody's ever happy about having to pay taxes.
Yeah.
I just got to thinking regarding our workshop next week. Would we want to have maybe some additional discussion, or maybe it's too early, regarding the licensing out at the county or out at the new government center? But maybe it's too early yet. I don't know.
Not sure.
early days, kind of.
You were sitting there, and I'm not sure why you were sitting there. So it just kind of dawned on me that maybe you want to come to the podium and.
I'm hoping maybe you got dialogue already back and forth some.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for?
I don't know.
I just came to make sure that our contract for Q-Flow was okay, and if I could answer any questions and back up with that. As far as planning for the transition, Lindsay and I are on top of that, working with the 3 state entities to get our equipment transferred over. I'm feeling confident in our move. We still have to determine if there's going to be outages of service and what that would be. Hopefully, I'm going for the most minimal impact of that, but that really depends on the state. With if they can get me temporary equipment, I can't move the camera. So that would be something until they come out and physically move it to the new location. If we're in one building and out of another, that would really be dependent on them.
You know, at one time we had talked about a second camera.
It's pretty expensive to purchase a second camera. When we inquired about it, we did build with the intent that we could change a workstation into a second camera station, so we built that into the plan to make it an easy transition, but when we looked into it 2 years ago, it was $25,000 to purchase just the second camera, which that's a lot.
It is, but we may, I mean, two stations would be nice.
That's what keeps places like Dell and Cokato from doing the licenses. They've told me in the past, it's the cost of the camera.
Yep.
Well, that and they have to have permission too, I believe. I don't know. Anybody want to have that
Hear anything
discussion
back
at the
from-
workshop?
Did you have any conversation back from the state when you said the?
We were assigned a different person, and then they just said they'd keep in touch. Then they sent that generic letter, which was dated previous to our meeting, but saying similar verbiage of they want to reopen. I just don't know how realistic they can meet their goal, to be honest. I mean, it's already September. But I'm hoping, I mean, I think we're saying all the right things to get them in there.
Well,
Maybe-
we certainly had, our team here, working too, so,
Why don't we schedule this for the October workshop?
yeah, that sounds good.
At least review and find out what's going on.
Yeah,
Just so that if we need to, as a board, send something to the state, asking them where we're at.
Sounds good?
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank
you're
you.
welcome.
And did we approve what you wanted? Yes. Oh, darn it. Commissioner Newsom.
Meetings, but no advisory meetings to report on.
All right, Commissioner Ketchmark?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So, as it already been mentioned, the solar meeting last week, and just for anyone that's interested that reads minutes or listens later, a lot of it was language on the application process and clearing some things up that haven't been in there and having some other folks with input, looking at the sites and weighing in on that with potentially more enforcement and consequence if the right things aren't done. And that seemed to be accepted by both sides, all sides, and it was a good turnout at the last meeting, so we'll move it forward. As was said, Soil and Water had a part, and it was good. Planning Commission met on Thursday, not much for contentious items. There were items continued from the agenda, which resulted in about an hour and a half meeting, fairly short there. That's all I had for the week. Thank you.
And just to put a plug in, that there is an opening on the Planning and Zoning Commission, preferably from somebody from the St. Michael at Seeger area. But if we don't get somebody coming forward from there, I think we will just start opening it up for any resident in the county.
Can you do that? Don't you need somebody from each?
If I can't get anybody, I don't think so.
Okay.
I suppose we could find an attorney maybe to appoint.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Ketchmark.
Our attorney is busy watching the shot clock at the meetings. But for info, it's supposed to be a 7-member planning commission. We currently have 6, which presents the potential, of course, for tie votes. And just for the record, so we'll hope that we generate some interest and get that spot filled.
It's out on the county website. I've asked information from the cities. I had a hard time filling this in the past. there isn't a whole lot of interest from those two cities because
Their cities.
it has no effect on them really at all, so, and that's why I'm thinking that if I would say within the next 3-4 weeks, if we don't get somebody from that area, that we open it up countywide and then I have an interview process if we get multiple applicants.
Well, Mr. Chair, it might be nice to have not somebody in the same township represented, in other words,
Yeah, and
you
that's
know.
why we would open it up for
So if you open it up, then you might have somebody in the same district, but they're in different.
Yeah, no, I would prefer that we didn't have a duplication of efforts.
Mr. Chair, I really would hope we can take some time to look at how we can attract somebody from St. Michael Otsego onto the board. That spot there is probably the most judicious spot
Yeah.
on the board because it doesn't have a member that has any kind of skin in the game in terms of making change. And that's
That's why I do like that part of it.
I-
It's just an independent.
Yep.
Yeah, no skin in the game. It has no effect on them, but again, I've been trying and I've had issues in the past. It just doesn't seem to be much interest.
Let's put this on the workshop next week for a discussion piece, because I want to have some overall talk about how this looks and what just so we make it at least known, so we can chat about it a little bit. Because I don't foresee us getting a flood of applicants for that, especially in terms of the workload that our planning commission has had, as Commissioner Catchmark can attest to.
And the meeting schedule has changed, which needs to be out. And I don't know that the opening is listing that. I haven't seen it, but we go start at time of 7:30 until November, and then we voted to have 6:30 start time till the spring. And my understanding, and from what history is that the District 5 Commissioner has been represented on the Planning Commission going back a long time. And I think people look at the map and they think, well, most of the, planning and zoning efforts are probably going to be concentrated there because it's not really developed. If you look at that agenda month after month, the majority is not in District 5, which is surprising. You'd think it would be, but there's a lot of rezoning requests that are outside of District 5, which is, you talk about the judicious part, well, that's where I would come in with, seems like 3/4 of them potentially where no skin in the game per se district-wise. But just an observation I made, because early on it was, a lot of the stuff happens in District 5. So how many commissioners in the past have been the one on the Planning Commission? The last 3 at least. I think for Burrell, Russick, Mattson, and I don't know before that, but interesting anyway. But yeah, we can talk and make sure that the meeting times are out there so people know, hey, am I available or not?
Maybe one other thing is that, currently it's just District 3, which is Eastern St. Michael and Otsego. Bless you. Maybe we could open it up to all of St. Michael and Albertville.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
mention that, it's close enough.
Because they're still in St. Michael or Albertville.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so
I was
maybe
thinking that too.
that's one thing we can also look
Yeah,
at.
or St. Michael, Hanover, Albertville, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't thinking Hanover
I-
because they're close to Rockford Township.
Yeah,
But
I would rather see Albertville and all of St. Michael.
Those are kind of the 3 largest cities, and
And they both, have 2 districts in them, so.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Okay. Anything else to come before the board for discussions? Thank you all. We are adjourned at 9:49.